particular organizational alignment for a future discussion. My intent here is to do some remarks, have some Q&A, and then we'll be available for 30 minutes to an hour afterwards for one-on-one discussions as required. So before we jump into the more of the cyber DCO focus that would be appropriate for the DCO symposium, I just wanted to give a little bit of information up front about the broader RCO mission. Of note, we have a new director as of 15 April. Ms. Tanya Skeen is our director. She took over for Doug Wiltsey. She's coming from the Air Force as a deputy for test and evaluation, and prior to that had a hand in as an engineer, chief engineer of the Air Force Rapid Capability Office. So she comes with a lot of that experience that's going to definitely shape and take the Army RCO to the next level. And then as what's critical with any rapid organization is direct access to leadership. So we follow the priorities of a board of directors that comprises the Secretary of the Army, Chief of Staff of the Army, and Army Acquisition Executive. And all of our requirements are vetted and prioritized from that board. Ultimately, though, this is all about, in terms of the tenets, like I said, accelerating the delivery of advanced solutions that can address urgent threats and critical warfighter needs. So today's focus, among the broader RCO kind of portfolio, is cyber. It's highlighted in, you can't see that at all, so I'll stop using the highlighter. Today is cyber. So to date, the focus of RCO for the last 2 years, we're almost 2 years old, has been on electromagnetic warfare capabilities and assured position, navigation, and timing. And we are absolutely involved in other aspects depicted on the chart in more early stage activities. But with the new leadership and emphasis, cyber is going to be an expanding and focus area for the RCO in the coming months and years. Our goal is to identify technology that if proven quickly and that can be matured through rapid prototyping, can be made available to Army forces and have an immediate impact. Another way to look at it could be that RCO was going to buy down risk for advanced technology and enable transition both to the force and into programs of record that may not have the resources or mission to take disruptive technology and get it matured to the point where it can be operationally relevant. The Army RCO, in terms of complex or traditional weapon systems, may be in the business of very complex and long-term programs along a many years timeline, depending on the priorities of the board of directors. In terms of cyber, I think part of the dialogue here today and moving forward is understanding what an appropriate program and what appropriate technology should be rapidly engineered for Army forces. Understanding that we have programs of record that do cyber work in the Army. We have the S&T community that does lots of cyber work. And so we're working among those stakeholders to find the appropriate mission space so that we can successfully bring technology that may otherwise not have been made available to the Army forces. And then, of course, as we kind of iterate this a few times in cyber, I think we'll ultimately figure out what that timeline looks like. But at the moment, we're definitely a lot of options are on the table for what type of disruptive technology and against what type of warfighting gap we're going to be targeting. So being here at the DCO Symposium, we had a lot of our Army organizational partners in addition to our other DoD partners here. I know yesterday at the Cyber Center of Excellence, General Morrison spoke. Russ Fenton is our Trade Capability Manager for DCO. I know that he spoke a lot about the existing programs of record and specifically DCO and the agile approach that they're taking. So in case just to highlight that, we have because we have a lot of programs in the Army that are addressing Army Cyber Command's needs and the Army's needs for cyber. There's 4 icons up there. PEO EIS has the program, has most of the portfolio for DCO. We have intelligence, electromagnetic warfare, and sensing that has the offensive portfolio. And Mr. Coy Wynn, who's sitting here, if he can raise his hand, he's the AP assistant product manager for that portfolio. In case you have offensive cyber questions for him,
that he can't answer.
That he won't answer. And then PEO C3T has the responsibility for more of the tactical application of DCO, and of course PEO STRI. They're down in Orlando, has been tasked as the joint program office for the persistent cyber training environment. So we work within those and others across the services, U.S. Cyber Command, to understand that landscape, but also really hone in on warfighting gaps that the Army specifically wants us to focus on. And our intent here absolutely is not to duplicate the large portfolio that the PM-DCO has within PEO-EIS. I know that Russ Fenton yesterday talked a lot about the approach that they're taking, implementing streamlined acquisition called evolutionary acquisition, and conducting rapid prototyping, rapid assessments to really deliver that advanced tech. And I think that program is leading the way and is a great example for the Army and the DoD on implementing streamlined procedures. I think knowing that and being in close communication with them will enable us to hone in on maybe some disruptive or innovative technology that might just exceed the capacity of that PM that we can partner with. Or maybe there's some other capabilities in parallel that are on the roadmap that RCO and the Army believes is a top priority that we could accelerate. And again, we'll be accelerating with a focus on delivering to the force, likely a small user group to begin with, and then while also coordinating with existing programs of record that are depicted for sustainment of these capabilities as required. So as we enter the DCO discussion, on the chart we've kind of highlighted Army Cyber Command. That's their patch, and Army Cyber Command is responsible for the 62 cyber mission teams. They're likely the primary customer, and they have been the demand signal that has driven most of the stand up of the program offices in the Army. Between Army Cyber Command, the aforementioned Futures Command, the understanding the warfighting gaps and what the top priorities are for us to focus on is one of our top goals over the next few months, and to establish those partnerships, because it really does all start with understanding what the problem is, so that when we come to events like this and dialogue with SMEs like you, it's a productive conversation and not solutions chasing problems. That said, we do understand that we have to. These dialogues are critical so that we can make these alignments between technology and gaps as fast as possible to enable the transition. The graphic at the bottom is you can't read it. But it's generally the traditional acquisition life cycle, from pre-milestone A all the way to sustainment. Generally speaking, we put a box there. It's a likely focus. That's going to shift over time here as we kind of zero in on what the cyber focus ultimately will be. But we do know that we're the arrow. So it's about cutting through those phases as fast as possible, so that advanced technology is made available to the user, to the Army forces, for the critical threats and missions that they face. And doing so in collaboration and partnership with the rest of the Army and DoD community. So I want to kind of shift into technical focus. So I hesitate to describe specific technical focus areas today for a number of reasons, but we'll definitely talk about them a little bit. First, ultimately, the Army's gaps, the solutions that we're going to look for are going to be traced and need to start with some kind of understanding of the top problems that the Army warfighters have, and ultimately those are going to be driven by the board of directors before we launch. That said, I think every good tech discussion includes AI and machine learning. So I've said that. Those are out there. But what we're trying to do is as we have discussions about AI, machine learning, and other disruptive technology areas, really understand what applications of that are most critical to the Army warfighter based upon the priority gaps that they face. And I know out here there are many discussions going on in those fields, and we want to be part of it. Just understand that as we have a better understanding of our gaps we're getting after, those discussions will be even more fruitful. So I guess in the question and answer and in the one-on-ones, I would definitely take input. I guess the third reason is we don't have the answers. We're building a team now in cyber to really be able to engage with and transition and be that arrow, the advanced technology against warfighter gaps. But we're absolutely interested in the expertise here and starting today and moving forward, because certainly we're open to the ideas and we need help to really shape and understand what we should be targeting in the industry and academic space. So RCO is not going to manage a large portfolio of programs. We're definitely going to employ the principles of a rapid team. It'll be small and agile. We'll have some projects, but they will be specifically and precisely chosen so that we're successful. So that said, we will be pursuing some non-traditional collaboration approaches. I'll go forward one. So the RCO did put out a BAA that you probably have seen. It's a great initial mechanism because it gives us the ability to draw up special notices on this and then be able to move forward with a number of award types that are listed on the bottom to include OTAs, FAR, non-FAR kind of contracts. So from a cyber perspective, as we hone in on the focus, do expect that that we'll be publishing special notices off of this initial BAA as one of the mechanisms to feel out potential solutions to some of our problems. There will also be other events that are going to occur this summer and moving forward and other partnerships. I would encourage, I'll just go forward one more. I would encourage all interested folks and parties to check our website, which will be updated fairly routinely. Follow us on LinkedIn. That's probably the most up-to-date source of some new things happening for us in RCO. If there's specific emerging tech that you'd like to formally submit to the office, there's a link there to submit to our emerging technology office. And then obviously, like I said, we're going to be using that BAA initially to put out some problem statements, special notices to get after some specific tech areas. So I think up here on the panel, if you will, our teammates, we I think we'll kind of break here for questions, and then in the one-on-one discussions, feel free to hound them with Q&A, COI, and then Nancy's walking around. Nancy is our strategic communications point of contact here today. So if there's any specific detailed questions about how to follow up with us, or please don't let her off the hook. So with that, I'll kind of pause and open it up for any formal Q&A. Otherwise, we'll be here for as long as necessary for a one-on-one discussion.
Ticket.
Okay. Oh, we do have a question.
came in a few minutes late, so if you mentioned this in the beginning, I apologize.
Sure.
But is there a place that any of the existing priorities, kind of here's our top areas of focus or interest, is posted, or is that something that you can talk about in individual discussions? So as industry has capabilities, how do we know what are the top priorities?
I think yes. So how late did you come in? So you're not speaking of that kind of level priority, but within cyber, some of the next level of detail, what we're really looking for. So I think what we'll do is likely use that BAA to put special notices out to get after, but to understand what we're considering, we'll take that as a good feedback to publish on our website. Those things that would be of use to you before formal announcements come out.
Yeah.
So Jack,
Let me see if I can follow up with that. So my name is John Mulderhill with MITRE. I'm supporting Jack. But one of the things that, even our list of priority areas may not be the right list, right? So if industry has, tried to solve a problem and has a solution, show us what that solution and the problem is. We may have that problem and didn't realize it, or maybe not articulated it correctly. So if there's a solution out there for a problem, let's find it. And if we find the user that has that problem and we can make a match, then we've got a good deal going.
yeah, and I was going to add to that. So the RCO within the Army is kind of in a unique position. Certainly, it has to follow law, but it has a lot of flexibility. And really, you talk about priorities. Typically, people start to think of requirements, right? What are the rack and stack of requirements that I have? But I think this office in particular is well positioned to engage industry through consortia, events like this, and really understand what are the technical opportunities for the Army to leapfrog. And really, industry knows a lot better often what's out there more than what we do, because lots of times traditional acquisition is just tied to this long requirements process. So now is absolutely the opportunity over the next hour to make known the things that we should be looking at, the priorities that we should be having, the niches that tend to fall through the cracks, and that's really what we would love to get out of this. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. Could you expand a little bit more about how you see projects within the RCO interacting with existing projects within the PEOs? Is that a back and forth, start one place, move to another? What's your sort of expanded thought on that? Thank you.
That's a good question. That's definitely been the source of a lot of our discussions here, and will continue to be. And I'm very, very happy that some of our PM partners come to have that conversation with us. I think it could come in a number of ways. I believe that there are some offices or entities that have some certain type of technology that could be applied to warfighting gaps rapidly. And we want to be there to enable that, to enable those opportunities to occur. With upfront dialogue with our PM partners, so that we're thoughtfully making that decision about which organization is best postured to make that happen, and then staying in touch throughout that process, because at some point, many of those technologies that we will address will ultimately get cut into those existing programs of record for sustainment. Tough to answer that exactly right now, other than we're building that collaborative upfront framework so that we're not picking projects or moving out without that kind of between the stakeholders of Army Cyber and the Cyber Center of Excellence, RCO, so that we understand that for whatever reason, of resource constraints or other things that we might be better postured to do, that it's decided up front and in a transparent way that's what we're going to go do, and then come back at checkpoints along the way to make sure that we're transitioning that to an enduring program at the right point. Definitely a conversation to continue to have, though.
or it may just lead to maturing requirements for a future program.
So Jack, do you see that there's a point where the RCO has to hand off to a PM, or do you see the RCO having the ability to take it deeper into the life cycle than maybe S&T or some other type of organization?
Roger, I think that unlike a CERDEC or an S&T organization where the ultimate goal is to hand off tech to a program office, we're going to take it through that life cycle to an initial. I'm not going to use. Don't quote me on low rate production, but initial delivery of a solution. So we're going to cut across that life cycle, and then there could be cases where that's it. If that's where maybe the tech has become has outlived its usefulness. But if in cases where it does need to transition, then we will have set those partnerships up along the way. But yes, we're going to cut through that life cycle. Absolutely, that's a great point. Much more so than a typical S&T entity. No more questions from the panel.
Roger that.
I'm surprised nobody raised RMF, just to throw a turd on the table. But
Well, so again, all right.
That wasn't a question.
RCO, is part of the RCO's success is incorporating the best practices that have been learned by many organizations as they build agile and successful rapid acquisition teams. We will have a ISSM RMF capability, and we'll own the responsibility for the authorization of capabilities. The director, Miskeen, will be an authorizing official. So part of the RCO's success is having a lot of those responsibilities within, so that we can get through some of the obstacles that affect other programs sometimes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thanks to AFCEA for the forum, and we'll be here for questions. Thank you.
half hour. Yeah. Oh, first one to the.
Hi.
Hey, Nate. How are you? Good to see you.
Nate Hughes, second front. Okay, yeah, probably. Yeah, I work with Rob Montero.
Oh, yeah.
Nice watch.
We were initially funded by Intuit Health.
Hey.
For the 11 meeting.
Yeah, I know. I know. I ran 5 miles this morning and
Prefer to be away from a microphone.
Are these on?